The 911 call starts, frantic and breathless. A young woman's voice is cracking with a decade of desperation and a sudden, unbelievable surge of hope. "Help me. I'm Amanda Berry. I've been kidnapped, and I've been missing for 10 years. And I'm here. I'm free now." For over a decade, a quiet street in Cleveland, Ohio, held a secret so horrifying it would eventually stagger the world. Behind the walls of 2207 Seymour Avenue, 3 young women had vanished, held captive by a man who was hiding in plain sight. They were neighbors and daughters whose faces were plastered on missing person posters, their families clinging to a hope that was slowly fading. Inside that house, they were living a nightmare beyond imagination. This is the story of their terrifying ordeal, their incredible strength, and the dramatic escape that brought a city to a standstill. The nightmare began on August 22, 2002. Michelle Knight was 21 years old, a single mom fighting to get custody of her son, and she was late for a crucial family services meeting. A familiar face pulled up and offered her a ride. Ariel Castro, the father of a girl she knew. He sealed the deal by promising her a puppy for her son. She got in the car. It was a decision that would cost her the next 11 years of her life. Because Michelle was an adult with a complicated home life, some authorities and even relatives figured she'd just run away. Her case didn't get many resources, and after 15 months, her name was removed from the national database of missing persons. It was as if the world had decided to forget her. Just 8 months later, on April 21, 2003, the day before her 17th birthday, 16-year-old Amanda Berry finished her shift at Burger King. She also accepted a ride from Ariel Castro, a man she recognized as her classmate's dad. And just like that, she was gone. Her disappearance, however, sparked a massive search and got widespread media attention. Her mother, Luana Miller, became a constant presence in the news, refusing to give up, insisting her daughter would never have just run away. Almost 1 year later, on April 2, 2004, the community was shaken again. 14-year-old Gina DeJesus, a close friend of Castro's own daughter, Arlene, disappeared while walking home from school. Castro had used his daughter's friendship with Gina as the perfect lure. With 3 young women now missing from the same West Cleveland neighborhood, a real fear took hold of the city. For years, their families held vigils, their daughters' faces becoming symbols of a community's grief. All the while, the man responsible watched. He even showed up at one of the vigils for Gina DeJesus. From the outside, 2207 Seymour Avenue looked completely normal. The owner, Ariel Castro, was a school bus driver and a musician in a local band. He was just a guy his neighbors knew. But inside that house was a prison. The windows were boarded up from the inside, doors were rigged with alarms and heavy-duty locks, and whole parts of the house were barricaded off. For the 3 women, life became a horrifying routine of terror and abuse. They were kept in separate rooms, often chained up, starved, and denied sunlight and basic sanitation, forced to use plastic buckets as toilets. Castro subjected them to constant physical, sexual, and psychological torture. He was their captor and their rapist, the one person who controlled every second of their existence. Every time they heard his footsteps, their hearts would pound, never knowing what kind of abuse was coming next. The cruelty was deliberate. Michelle Knight, being the first one he took, often got the worst of his rage. She became pregnant at least 5 times. Each time, Castro would starve and beat her until she miscarried. It was these horrific acts that would later lead to an aggravated murder charge against him. Then, in 2006, the dynamic inside the house changed. On Christmas Day, Amanda Berry gave birth to a daughter. The baby, Jocelyn, was a captive, too, but her presence created a new, complicated focus. For Amanda, protecting her daughter became the only thing that mattered, her one reason to survive. She did everything she could to create a small pocket of normalcy for the little girl in a world defined by chains and fear. In that seemingly endless darkness, the women found strength in each other. Though Castro often kept them apart, they had moments together where they became a lifeline. They would secretly celebrate birthdays, whisper words of encouragement, and hold on to any scrap of information they could get about the outside world. Castro sometimes let them watch TV, and on the news they saw their families holding vigils. It was a painful reminder of everything they'd lost, but also a powerful sign that they hadn't been completely forgotten. Amanda taught her daughter, Jocelyn, how to read and write. Gina found a small escape in drawing and writing in a diary. Michelle held onto the dream of one day seeing her son again. These small acts of defiance were their rebellion against the nightmare meant to erase them. Hope was the one thing Castro couldn't chain up. They knew their survival depended on more than just enduring the abuse. It depended on holding onto their own humanity. May 6, 2013, started out like any other day in that house. But then Ariel Castro made a mistake. He left to get some food, and for the first time in years, he forgot to lock the big interior door that kept Amanda and her daughter separate from the rest of the house. Amanda knew this might be her only chance. With her 6-year-old daughter right behind her, she ran to the front door, but it was locked. She started screaming, pounding on the door, desperate for someone, anyone, to hear her. A neighbor, Charles Ramsey, heard the commotion. At first he thought it was just a domestic dispute, but he came over to help. Together, they kicked in the bottom panel of the storm door, and Amanda crawled through to freedom, her daughter in her arms. She ran into a neighbor's house and made the 911 call that would echo around the globe. Within minutes, police swarmed Seymour Avenue. Cell phone videos captured the tense moments as officers broke down the door and disappeared into the dark house. Moments later, they came out, first with Gina DeJesus and then with Michelle Knight. After a decade-long nightmare, they were finally free. A few hours later, police arrested Ariel Castro, the monster who had been hiding in plain sight all along. The investigation that followed uncovered a level of evil that was hard to comprehend. Ariel Castro was charged with 937 criminal counts, including kidnapping, rape, and aggravated murder for causing Michelle Knight's miscarriages. His defense lawyers tried to claim he had a personality disorder, and Castro himself said in court, "I'm not a monster. I'm sick." But court-appointed experts found no psychiatric illness that would excuse what he did. To spare the women from having to go through a trial, prosecutors offered a plea deal. Castro pleaded guilty to all 937 counts, and in return, the death penalty was taken off the table. He was sentenced to life in prison plus 1,000 years with no chance of parole. At his sentencing, Michelle Knight looked right at him. "I spent 11 years of hell," she said. "Now your hell is just beginning." Her words turned out to be prophetic. Just 1 month into his sentence, on September 3, 2013, Ariel Castro was found dead in his prison cell. He had died by suicide. For many, it felt like a grim, final end to the story. That same year, the house at 2207 Seymour Avenue, the physical symbol of their torture, was demolished and erased from the Cleveland landscape forever. In the years since their rescue, the 3 women have been on the long, difficult road of healing, each finding their own path. They have gone from being victims to being powerful survivors and advocates. Amanda Berry has focused on raising her daughter, Jocelyn, who celebrated her sweet 16 in 2023. She also hosts a news segment for a local Cleveland station, using her voice to shine a light on other missing persons cases, wanting to make sure their families know that people are still looking. Gina DeJesus has also dedicated her life to helping others. In an incredible act of defiance and hope, she co-founded the Cleveland Family Center for Missing Children and Adults, choosing to build it near Seymour Avenue, turning a place of trauma into a place of support. She and her family now travel the country, training law enforcement on how to better work with the families of the missing. Michelle Knight, who now goes by the name Lily Rose Lee, has written 2 books about her ordeal and her journey to recovery. She found peace in helping animals and started an organization to rescue them. She's focused on giving second chances, just like the one she was given. The story of Amanda Berry, Gina DeJesus, and Lily Rose Lee is a stark look at the darkness that can hide just next door. But more than that, it's a powerful story about the resilience of the human spirit. Their courage didn't end when they escaped that house. It shines through in the lives they lead today. If you found this story compelling, Please consider subscribing for more stories that explore crime, justice, and the strength it takes to survive. For 10 years, 3 women were trapped in a living nightmare. Their escape on May 6, 2013, wasn't just the end of their captivity. It was the beginning of a new life they reclaimed from the darkness. The case forced a hard look at how law enforcement handles missing persons reports and reminded all of us how important it is to pay attention to what's happening in our own communities. The House of Horrors on Seymour Avenue is gone, but the legacy of hope, courage, and survival built by these 3 incredible women stands taller than ever. They are not defined by what was done to them, but by the strength they found in themselves and the hope they now give to so many others.